Well, hello, I'm 𝗏𝗏𝐸. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to be covering the Harbor Freight Haulmaster trailer. This is a 2,000 pound capacity 5x10 trailer. It's kind of surprising a trailer this size can fit into tiny boxes. Well, maybe not tiny, but 4 boxes this size. So yeah, we're going to go over it, how to put together some super helpful tips, save you from making the major mistake I made partway in. The instructions that come with these things are questionable, to say the least. So follow the video along. I'll give you some tips along the way, and we'll go and try out the trailer at the end of the video, and I'll give you my honest feeling and feedback on this trailer. So enjoy the video. So inside these 4 boxes here is the Harbor Freight Haulmaster 5-foot by 10-foot trailer. We're gonna start cutting these things open and see what we got. So my initial feeling after unboxing these things was, wow, there is a lot of stuff included in this kit. It almost felt overwhelming to me at first, not knowing exactly how this trailer is going to go together and all the parts that were included. Nice thing was there was no holes knocked in the box. The whole kit was in here, wasn't missing any nuts or bolts or any beams or anything, so that was nice. One thing I felt it was missing, the paper instructions were a bit lacking. You're going to hear that from me in the video. At the time of receiving this kit and starting to work on it, Harbor Freight did not have a video out yet on YouTube. That video was super helpful to follow along a few days into the build, so definitely check that video out. Most of the framework's in this one. Some in here. Hauled some stuff over there like the axle and some side rails. Nice sized tires for these things. 175/80/13. Can pack some grease in the bearings. And a whole bunch of bags with stuff. But did find the instructions, so hopefully these are written okay. So we'll go over these and see what we gotta do to start on this thing. So I feel like the instructions could have been a little bit more elaborate in some of the steps. Maybe I just misunderstood it. Maybe I have a hard time with the instructions, but trying to get the wiring loom is one of the first steps you do. And it was a little weird because it doesn't make sense until further later in the build. I think it's something you could almost put in later, but don't quote me on that. All right, going over the vague instructions here. Got 6 inches of this wiring loom. They say 49B, which wasn't labeled. Got this hanging out 6 inches. Ran through here. There's a little piece of yellow tape. I think that gets fed back to this hole. A little confusing here. I think it'll get easier as I get going, but dang. Okay, got that wiring loom in there. Got some rails set up. Let's see what we got going next. So I got the wiring loom done. I was a little confused on that. Now I'm trying to put together the main side rails. I do wish they kind of hit the ground without like jumping right into it, just kind of ease you into the kit a little bit. But I have a very important tip here because I totally screwed up on this stage. Trying to figure out the rails, trying to figure out what has labels, what doesn't, what parts you're working with. I was a little overwhelmed. This is something I was doing after work one evening, and I totally botched this part. And I'm going to jump way ahead of the build because I think you need to know about this. Putting together these main frame rails, like I said, this is a few steps in on the instructions. And if you do this wrong, you're going to find out way later in the build when you're putting the axle in that you screwed up like me. So we're going to jump ahead real quick, and I'm going to explain how these side rails that hold the frame and the actual axle together, how crucial these are to get right. So let's jump to that. Much as I could follow the plan and the video, I somehow mixed these brackets up from driver to passenger, I guess. So unfortunately, I gotta separate the whole frame, pop this bracket off, put it over there, and vice versa, which absolutely is terrible. All right, so tip. The long rails, top rails and bottom rails, long rails are for the front of the trailer. Shorter sections of rails when you're first assembling them for the back part of the trailer. Now, when you go to put this, line this all up and set this up, double check. Right now we're on the passenger side. Double check the shackle, the wide shackle sits towards the front of the trailer. Skinny shackle mount sits towards the rear of the trailer. That's crucial. We just had to flip these things back and forth. Either I misunderstood the manual or the manual is written wrong. There's the seam for the center support, the shackle holder. Shorter rails, skinnier shackles in the back. Longer rails, wider shackles in the front. So I thought that was a crucial information to include because I completely botched it. Maybe I'm just bad at understanding instructions, but starting off on a bigger kit like this, it seemed a little confusing, so I wanted to include that. Right here, I'm putting on some temporary stabilizer, leg stabilizers. These are something you pull off the trailer later on. Just kind of put them in towards the edges. Don't put them too close to the ends because you're going to put end caps on there. Right now, I'm working on the corner supports for this trailer. These are going to get attached for the front and back corners for the crossbars of the trailer. This all you kind of work through the paperwork looking at the Harbor Freight video. By this point, the video was up online, so I could refer back to that. It helped a little bit. Some of this kit is kind of confusing at first. You're trying to make sure you got the right washers, right spacers, and everything for that for every step of the way. But all said and done, as I got rolling on it, it made a little more sense working with the kit as I go. But don't always assume every washer is going to be square. Don't always assume every washer is going to be round. Double check what it needs. One cool thing about the kit are those blue kind of plastic covered lock nuts that go inside the frame I'm installing here. You just push them in and twist them, and they work really well. The actual frame has kind of knurled and has teeth in it that correspond with those lock nuts. I was really not sure about these kits at first being a bolt together. I was like, I'm not sure about a trailer that bolts together, but this is very sturdy. After I got it done, I was really surprised how well it was. As you guys know, I do welding and fabrication. Wasn't quite sure how good a bolt together trailer to be, but after putting this thing together, I was pretty impressed how stout the thing really is. So when working with the trailer rails, these lock nuts here, they kind of got an interesting shape to them. They have to roll in like this. You put them in and you rotate them clockwise. You'll feel they kind of notch back and forth a little bit. There are grooves and notches in the rail which correspond with these. So as you guys see, I just completed the front rails here, and then the instruction just says to go back and repeat that for the rear bumper. And they were pretty good about these ones. I think they were like 9 or something. They had some stickers on them. Anyhow, digging around, all I can find is cross member parts, pieces like that. And they say to get part number 10. Well, you can see that part number here. There's no 10, nothing like that on here. So I dug around. This is only one part I could find. It's all well together, nothing like the last part. Trying to figure out what part I'm using here. Go to the back assembly, the exploded diagram. Okay, here we can see that's one welded piece together. Looks like it says number 10. Look at number 10, rear bumper. So now I know it's actually a welded together bar. I got the right part. Nowhere on the sticker does it say part assembly number 10. Like right in here, we got number 11 cross member with the part number down here. Some of these components, they've just left the actual number they're stating in the manual off of it. This is the kind of stuff that I think they need to get a little bit better at their assembly instructions. Rear bumper number 10. Here's where they just gotta get a little better. This sticker, if instead of just a part number, just said rear bumper number 10. Here I'm kind of working out the tongue, putting this together. I do like that it's an A-frame style tongue. I'm kind of following along, looking at the Harbor Freight video on YouTube and kind of rewinding it, looking over the steps so I don't have to undo anything that I've already previously done. Do like the safety chains have little spring-loaded clips to kind of keep them locked in the hoops when you hook them to your truck. I do want to mention Harbor Freight sent this kit out to me. I was talking with them back before it came out on the market. They wanted to get my honest feeling of what I thought about it and thought I would maybe make a video that could be helpful for you guys. So even though they sent it out to me, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to give you my honest opinion and feeling about the trailer. And overall, it was a bit confusing, especially with the paper instructions, but their video helped quite a bit. Hoping my video can also help quite a bit. I'm sure there's other helpful videos on YouTube, but at the end of the day, after putting this kit together, I was actually pretty surprised how well built it is. So time frame, it's kind of hard for me to go back and judge how long I spent on it. I did most of the kit myself. It would have been really helpful with an extra person. Did have an extra friend help me on occasion for the axle and some of the decking and things like that. But honestly, if you and a friend got going on this, I think it'd probably be like a portion of a weekend working on it. I really think if someone's really efficient with their time, they could build it quicker than that. But having an extra friend, like something like this for installing like the tongue on the trailer, would be a lot more help. Just lifting it up and getting it in its place properly. But all said and done, I was working on this usually after work in the evenings, a few hours here, a few hours there, and I would say a weekend probably would be totally done with the kit by getting it out of the box, putting it together, putting the decking on, and towing something away with it. So here I'm finishing off the brackets for the A-frame tongue, putting on these square twist-in nuts. Before you really get tightening anything down, double check that with your main brackets you're putting over there that all the alignment of the nuts are in proper place, and then start snugging everything down. Right here I'm just tightening everything down to a point, but later you have to go through and retorque everything down to the specific torque recommendations in the manual. Here I'm measuring out and double checking that the tongue is all centered off of the axle supports, because you want your trailer to tow down the road really well, which I spent a little bit of time doing this, and it tows really nice going down the highway. Going through, snugging everything down, double checking, measuring everything, aligning anything I have to here. This is a step you want to take your time and make sure you do it well. The trailer's just going to tow a lot better as long as you make sure all these steps are done correctly. So here I was getting ready to put the crossbar supports on the frame. And remember earlier when I stopped the video and talked about the tip, the crucial tip for when you go to install the axle, make sure you got your axle hangers installed right. This is the moment where we realized that these main plates from the very beginning steps had to be taken off and flip-flopped from side to side. Unfortunately, we had to do it, but luckily we were able to support the whole frame very well. And it only took us maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do it and a little bit of remeasuring. And we get ready to start hanging the axle again. Just don't make the same mistake I did. Pay attention to those shackle hangers. Make sure you have them aligned right, because either I misunderstood it or the manual wasn't written right. I don't know. Wasn't awesome though. So I want to note, these are the cross members. They are labeled actually in here, cross member number 11, which not everything is labeled like that in my kit. These guys don't go on till much later, but I want to let you guys know that if you are installing the brackets, some sit on brackets that mount on the outside of the rails. All of them, note, will get installed loose supposedly with this profile lumping up on all of them. These ones bolt on back here on a bracket for the corner rear bumper. These ones sit and bolt onto the actual leaf spring support rail frame. One there and one here. The next one in goes on the slide around bracket. Next one towards the front further fits on the A-frame, the rear support A-frame rail. And the front cross member support fits onto the front corner bracket. And we got a fifth loose slide and mount anywhere bracket that fits in the front of the frame, just behind the jack. So once again, slide around front bracket. There's 5 of them. One there, and one down there. The rear ones mount onto the existing corner frame. The 2 center kind of ones by the axle fit onto the leaf spring axle support. The second one back from the front fits on the rear A-frame support. And the front one fits on the front corner support. Seems confusing until you put it together. Once you put it together, it makes a lot more sense. And I do think, even though it's not welded, I do feel like the kit is pretty robust, being that this is square stock with these bent in heavy duty channels in here, and all those channels are kind of knurled in there that fit these kind of same timing kind of grooves as the nuts. So once you tighten them down, they lock into these little groove channels in here, so they're not going to slide back and forth. Everything fits into these rails, have these pre-bent tabs that go in here, which really just locks this upper rail to the bottom rail. Very sturdy system. So even if it, I like welding, I'm a welder, but all said and done, it actually bolts together pretty well. I think it's going to be a pretty sturdy trailer. It is kind of crazy if you're really into building models and stuff. This would be the kit for you if you grew up building models and love that. There's a lot of pieces and components, but it's making more sense now as I get it almost complete. read through the manual. Harbor Freight says to tighten down all the bolts on the trailer, and they'll get to the square wrench later in the manual. Just find your square wrench early on if you're like me. I'm not a major perfectionist, but even if I'm not finishing up all the mounting of everything, it's pretty easy to put this on, tighten down your bolt, and then torque it. Yeah, so find your square wrench early on. You're going to be appreciative of that. Don't wait until the manual says to. That's my personal thought on it. Note, driver's side rear passenger front fender bracket. So that's the passenger front fender bracket on here. This one says passenger side rear fender bracket. This one, the front fender bracket, passenger side and driver's side, go on with the nuts in the frame, washer, lock washer, and bolt. No spacer. I just took the fender that's supposed to be on here, butted up against this one so it's tight. Brought this frame fender support in until it touched the inside of the plastic fender, how it's supposed to be mounted. This one on the back of both brackets is supposed to have square washers between them to space them out so this bracket can actually slide over this backing plate. So hope that makes sense. The way to describe it in the manual and the videos, it just seems a little confusing, but that's all there is to it. So the hardware for the fenders look like they're your typical bolt, flat washer inside, flat washer on the outside of the bracket, and a nylock nut on there. Drop this thing on and bolt them on. One thing I noticed with these fenders, I know Harbor Freight mentioned that they're replaceable easily. They're basically slotted. You loosen up 4 bolts and they slide off in case you bend a fender. On most steel fenders, they're just all bent up. These ones, if you do bend, they'll probably flex back. If you really hit them hard, they'll probably shatter, but I think they're going to be offering replacements for them. But the nice thing about them, I'm out in the Northwest and everything is muddy out here, is the mud coverage actually looks pretty good on these fenders here. They come up, close this whole section in so you're not getting spray up through here. These extra parts here, I think you could actually stand on these parts. They say not to stand up here. Down under here, there's that angle iron flat bar on them, so should be able to step on there. Those just add extra mud coverage. They're kind of a nicer, lower profile fender. I think it's going to really keep the mud off. Now these little LED side rear marker lights and the front amber ones, they're all fully sealed, little LED. Backs are all sealed up really well. No water's going to get into them, LED, so should last a long time. So I have to say, I think the biggest mistake I made, and maybe just by reading in the manual, this is before I saw the video Harbor Freight put together, was starting off, you got this confusing kit, you got a bunch of parts, you don't know what they do. Basically, when you start off, you need 2 of the front side rails per side. They're longer, and they split right here. And then you got 2 rear rails per side. They go right here. They talk about putting these other ones in for spacers. Yeah, you could do that. I don't think it's really that necessary, it just complicates things. And I found some of these kits, like there's a hole in random spots in some of this tubing. I thought, well, maybe that really matters where it goes. It doesn't really matter. Most of them, this kit will have random holes in weird spots. They don't really correspond to mostly anything. Like this. There's a hole here. You don't even use that hole. Over here, there's 2 holes here. You don't even use the holes. So early on, I thought there was more to it than this. Only thing that really matters is the driver's side has a wiring loom that runs in it. And I think you could put it in at the end of the build. Might be a little harder to snake it through there. I think it'd be fully easy to do. Or you can put it at the beginning of the build. But keep in mind, see, there's a random hole here you don't use. There's a random hole down here you don't use. Only thing that's crucial is on the driver's side, lower tube, you put one that has a hole here and a hole here. Use this one right here for run your wiring loom out of. And that same rear short tube has a hole right here. That's for your license plate light to come out. And the lower front driver's side has a big hole, 16 inches or so back from the front. And that's for your wiring loom to come out. That's the only thing that makes this kit different from right and left. And it's very confusing to start off with a build, trying to figure out how that wiring loom goes in there. I would say if you can't figure it out, just build it. Make sure that is on the lower bar with the holes in it down that side, and run the wiring loom later. I can't stress how much this whole manual here is pretty awful. At least the first version of it gives you some information, but watching the video they say refer to the manual for wiring diagram, and they show a quick shot of it on the screen, and this wiring diagram is awful. I mean, they make everything like I can cover the whole wiring diagram for the tail light here, and they have paper. They just add an extra page to make this big because it's so confusing the way these arrows come in. I've read a lot of wiring diagrams before, and this one, there's arrows crisscrossing all over the place. Come on, guys, get it together. Anyhow, what I determined in this wiring diagram is confusing as hell to me is, of course, you got your wire from your side, red marker light, black to brown, white to white. Continues on over here on the wiring loom. Looks to me like green wiring loom to red tail light. This is for the passenger side. White to white and brown to black. So we're going to continue on over here and hook up this other driver's tail light and continue on. Alright, so here's what we got going. Yellow wire that we ran through that frame rail, like the first step that was super confusing how to put that wiring loom in. That comes out, you hook that to your back red side little light. Main loom comes out here. There's this little junction here. White to white, black to brown for your tail light, to yellow for your tail light. And then after that, you just do green to green, white to white, brown to brown for a continuation for your lights on the passenger side. Brake light and side light. Alright, now that we got the wiring done, onto the screws and the decking. Screws on the left came with the trailer kit. Screws on the right are the stuff I bought from Home Depot. They're far more robust. Went for 2x10 pressure treated boards on this one, just because I'm going to be hauling my skid steer on it, and the tracks are about 6 inches wide. I wanted to make sure I had really wide boards, a little more robust. The last board we had ripped down a little bit on the table saw to give adequate spacing, so when these get rained on, they don't swell up and stress the frame at all. Go through here, my friend made this little wooden jig so we could pre-drill all the screw holes in the same location. This same drill bit also has a countersink, which we'd countersink into the boards about 1/4 inch. And then come back through and run those heavy-duty self-tapping screws into the metal frame. Worked pretty well. So here's a quick shot of the screws I ended up buying at Home Depot for this decking project. Far more robust than the stuff that comes with the trailer stock. The decking, I paid about $200, but I wanted it all pressure treated because we get pretty wet northwest winters around here, and I want the decking to hold up for years. This thing also came with these 4 lash down points that are adjustable up and down the rails. I really like these. I hope in the future Harbor Freight will sell these as 2-packs in their stores, because I wouldn't mind buying a few more lash points I could actually bolt onto the side of this trailer. Moving smaller things around like quads and motorcycles, it would be nice to have a few more lash points. Going through, double checking everything's been torqued properly, including the lug nuts and everything else on the trailer, and ready to start towing stuff with it. Well, going out for its maiden voyage, load up the skid steer and log splitter on here, and towed really well going down the road. Stopped a few times and checked on the load. Everything's nice and secure. About 160 miles round trip for this trip, and about 40 of it was on pothole gravelly roads. And the trailer seemed to be holding up like a champ. No issues at all, but of course it should. It's brand new. But yeah, towed down a bunch of these pothole roads with that weight on there. No issues. Got the skid steer out, did some gravel work, did some firewood processing. No problem at all. It's nice to have. I brought a little gravel out in the back of the truck, so that's why I didn't load the skid steer in the back of the truck this time. It's kind of nice to have that trailer option. Worked really well. Since then, we've also loaded up the kid motorcycles, let the kids ride around in quads and dirt bikes. And I'm really looking forward to Harbor Freight releasing their rail package for this thing, because I would really like to have rails on the trailer down the road in the future. But yeah, it worked really well, and I've been using it a few more times and got some other plans for the future for this trailer as well. I'll go into a little more detail on that in the end of the video. Well, first trip with this trailer, and it towed great behind my truck, 60-65 miles an hour. No issue at all. Skid steer is about 1,600 pounds, about 150 pounds for the log splitter on here, and of course the wood decking. That's probably all I want to put on this thing. The tires are at 50 psi. They got a little bit of a bulge. I did notice there's single wall, sidewall on them. So maybe if you're gonna haul a little bit more, maybe invest in slightly better tires at some point. But all in all, for the $1,000 this kit sells for, sometimes I see coupons go for about $100 off of it. You still have to put your own decking on it, but all in all, it's a pretty good trailer. I was a little skeptical when I first saw a bolt together kit. You know, I do fabrication and welding, but it does fit together really well. Instructions definitely could be a little bit better, but all in all, once I get it figured out, it was pretty simple to put together. 2 people would make it a lot easier to do, but it does seem like a pretty damn good trailer. Now, the weight capacity of this thing won't haul my new mini excavator. It hauls my skid steer just fine, but I think I'm going to modify this trailer for something else, because I want a trailer that I can actually haul my mini excavator on as well, and that's 2,600 pounds. It's just over capacity for this. So what I think I'm going to do is in the future, I'm going to build this thing into a little camper trailer to pull behind my Toyota FJ Cruiser. I think it would be great for me and my family to have, and it's going to be good for some little trips and stuff. So I think this chassis is going to be ideal for bolting a little camper trailer on and building something. So stay tuned for that video at some point in the future. Hope you enjoyed the video. All right, take care. Bye.